And we are live, yes, I am seeing that right now. But, as usual, I will make an operation here, waiting for you to arrive also. Yes, operation done. And I'm not seeing you there, but I will begin anyway. Thank you so much when you stop by. Today, as usual, we are going to talk about purpose. Yes, another angle, another drill, another visit to this so much needed theme in our days. And now I'm seeing you, Julieta. Welcome one more time. Thank you so much for stopping by again. And that because of the utmost significance of thinking, living, breathing purpose to the utmost of our ability. And why? And why is this so imperative? Especially these days. Well, in my perspective, it really is imperative because being the purposeful expression, the really truthful, creative expression of ourselves, how can we deny its role nowadays? How can we suppress its need? We can't, not in my perspective, at least not us. Not us. We already find, that already know how much important it is in our own lives. And for those that already made the effort of going one more time after the other, plunging and searching and drilling for ever more significance, for ever more truthfulness, ever more capacity to make a difference for the better. For those of us who really strive to do so, or are eager to get to the point of having that, because if we don't have that predicament active inside ourselves, still we can formulate the intent of having so. And by the way, this very moment that we are here and now talking is the new moon happening, Gemini new moon happening right this moment. It started in Portugal hour some 2 hours and a half ago. So we are still on the cusp of it, and it's a great opportunity for us to really go forward onto creating better perspectives, onto unleashing new meanings, new horizons, new dimensions of self-aware. Because there are no limits to our own self, and we as humans, we are the species which have the utmost effect on this planet that we are born and live here. Yes, we have, and we know we have history proves it. And do we need history? Of course not. We look around us and we perceive easily that there are no other species around that have the same level of impact and effect on the planet as we have. So, thinking about our purpose is undivisible from thinking about the planet's purpose in several dimensions. And it's very easy to understand this, I believe so. If we think, but why should I care with the purpose of the planet? But that is somewhat dreamier, too much dreamier, thinking about the planet has a purpose. How can a planet? It's not a person. It's wow. Why should a planet has a purpose? Well, in my perspective, it really has a purpose. And it really is significant for us, because then we can ask the other question. Well, okay, even if it has a purpose, what's in for me? In what way the planet has or a purpose or not affects my own life? And to that I say, of course it affects your own life. Of course it affects your own life, and affects every single level of purpose. And if thinking about the purpose ladder that I have already shared in another live, and very quickly, if you think about the vital level, the scene or slash circumstance level, the narrative level, community level, society, humanity, and then planet, solar, galactic, and cosmic. Those are the upper levels. But thinking about the levels that are on the path to reaching the planetary purpose, all of them are duly more than affected. They are determined, co-determined by the planetary purpose. You have no doubt about it. Because if Mother Gaia starts to rebel in extreme against human species, we don't have a chance for having any type of purpose whatsoever. It's very easy to understand what happens if we stop clean air to breathe. What about water and food supply? What will happen? What will happen in the face of extreme nature events, like earthquakes, like fires, like you name it? It's very easy to understand if we are very concrete and practical, even beyond the philosophical realm, and I will get there, because I really believe that really is significant, that in very practical terms, we depend on the planet has a healthy expression of its own purpose, which is its own way, its own raison d'être, to use another expression. Because we depend on it. We really live on it. And taking it some steps forward, or further, if you prefer, we see that right this time, several of the most powerful people and organizations in this planet are making plans of making some of the most cherished myths and philosophies of humanity taken an economics, a business, a civilization type of expression that never has been seen by humanity since. And that involves us, of course, because anytime you buy a book from Amazon, for instance, you are putting money for that. Indirectly, of course, you are putting money for that to happen, because one of the companies, the Blue Origin company, which is owned by Mr. Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, yes, he has plans for taking those very same elements, knowledge, processes, whatever, that we have here on Earth, and go for, like Mr. Elon Musk from SpaceX, that it's the most knowledgeable example. But there are others. Mr. Branson from Virgin Galactic, another. Those big three companies that come to mind when I think about we as humans taking what we have here on this planet and projecting our own notion of what is an ecosystem, molded by our own perception of what is the planetary purpose here on Earth, to another realms of on which we can create life. Yes, and this can change many things for us, humanity. can change the notion of property, the notion of law, the notion of common goods, all the other notions that we take as granted, that those can be changed. And this is important for us to think, in my perspective, because things are moving very, 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 very fast. And maybe not in the specific purpose planet perspective, but yes, my opinion is yes. And I say why. I will say why. Can you, by the way, making just a short remark, please make your comments, put your questions, whatever you needed. I know this can sound a little bit more abstract, philosophical, speculative. Yes, in a sense it is. But that's one of the dimensions of being creative, of course, and that's one of the dimensions of thinking about purpose. Taking the baseline definition of purpose onto another realm, stretching it. Yes, of course. But that's part of being human. We go beyond our own limits, we stretch our own perceptions, and we understand later, back, like Mr. Steve Jobs said, when you look back, you can see purpose really looking ahead, trying to look ahead. That was his point. You see purpose much better when you go ahead and walk the talk, and then you look back and you see the path, and then you can extract meaning much more easier from that path. You can understand what was the pattern of life evolvement arising from those, and then you can have more certainty around your purpose, or more confidence if you prefer. I do prefer than certainty, because purpose is like an evolving reality, ever greater, to put us ever more what we already are or are destined to be as humans, individually and collectively. And so, Mother Gaia's purpose, according to several ancient philosophies, was really to birth us as a species, as a human species, but not only us, but all the other species, yes, and that's one of the perspectives. Other perspective is what us humans are responsible for making into this earth around their very purpose. And there are several answers. One is that we are responsible with our own awareness as humans, as with our own intelligence frame that are multiple, complex, not only the cognition side of it. Mr. Howard Gardner brings forth a theory regarding that multiple intelligence expressions. He named it as 9, but we already talked in other lives that is just one perspective that Mr. Howard Gardner brings, because evermore we are considering human intelligence as very complex and very multi-sided as such. So we, with our intelligence, with our awareness in a global sense, we are responsible for participating in the evolutionary march of the cosmos, bringing ever more awareness onto the processes that make Earth to their very best. And of course you can argument, yes, Julio, but that's a projection of our own human nature onto the stuff that we are talking about. And of course it is, also is. But does it invalidate the possibility of that having so? Does it make us better or not so better as persons and as species? Well, in my perspective, I believe it makes us better, thinking that we have a responsibility of making or having better knowledge, better love, better understanding of what really is this beautiful planet all about. And shouldn't it be really the very present purpose of all branches of human endeavor? Shouldn't it be really the purpose of science, of biology, of all sorts of branches around it all? Shouldn't it? Well, yes. Yes, in my perspective, yes. Earth is just not a place for us to conquer or to dominate in order to satisfy our own need of certainty in that survival type of Darwinian way of seeing our life here. No, for sure. For sure. And we talked yesterday and in other lives about what is really the role of us as creating realities beyond ourselves. We talked about in political terms, of course, and yesterday, thinking about yesterday. And, of course, I really believe that this is the lens of perspective that will unleash humanity's most beautiful powers of creation, of fruition, not only in collective terms, but in personal terms for each and every single one of us. And yes, this is very idealistic. But even beyond getting there, in the path of getting there, aren't we meant to live that very old motto of self-help and personal development that states that more important than the goal is the path that we go towards the goal. And why? Because in that very path, we became what we are intended to become. And the goal can happen or not. Karma yoga, like they say in Bhagavad Gita. But you will become better, walking the path in that sense. Yes, you don't have to be idealistic all the time. Yes, you don't have to be thinking about philosophies and theories. But can we see that maybe what we really need is getting some more ways of falling in love with Earth? And yes, of course, the most direct and simple way is simply to be on nature. Simply to be enjoying and near Mother Gaia onto a stream of water, near sitting on the trunk of a tree, or going to a beach, climbing a mountain, whatever. You can understand. We have here fortunately here in Portugal, we have wonderful places, incredibly blessed places. Even near the metropolitan areas, near, for instance, near Lisbon, there are incredible places to be around. Some of the most beautiful places on the planet, in my perspective. Places like Sintra, places like Arrábida, places like Troia, like you name it. There are several. Even in the city, you have places that are wonderful to have that communion with nature. So this is really a predicament, and including in terms of significance in our own heads, because we know, and those of us who have spiritual inclinations, spiritual practices or spiritual beliefs, we know that connecting with the nature in all its dimensions will make us ever more able to fully participate onto the life's dance, onto the cosmic plan. And that, my dear friends, that can make or break our own purpose, that can make all the difference in having some miracles happening into our lives. Or miracles, if you prefer the idea of a miracle as something that we don't yet understand, but have other explanations beyond our conventional, rational perspective on what a miracle is. Now I see your comment, Julieta. I think about the marshmallow experience regarding protecting our planet. Not to mention, we should even see this as something done without expecting the reward, for sure. It is as simple loving and protecting our planet. Yes. I think ignorance is the biggest issue in my opinion, not knowing of having distorted visions of processes involved in. Yes. For instance, how food grows from the farm to the table and all the implications of it. Yes, for sure. That's the last part of your comment make me think about my son Rafael. In one of the last walks that we have outside, we go there, and he asked me, "Oh, father, but how people in Africa buy their groceries if there are no supermarkets there?" And I've told him, "Oh, my son, but supermarket, it's a very new thing. Food doesn't grow in supermarkets." I say to the kid, 5-year-old kid. Food grows. Your father have shown you many times. Food grows in trees, and not only in trees, but in nature, in earth, in the land, near waters, etc. Food isn't growing in trees, in supermarkets. And he said, "Oh, I would love to see that." And that's one of the miracles of life. In that very same moment, we look in front of us, and it was right here in Lisbon. Yes, it is amazing. Right here in Lisbon. It really is like the divine plan, synchronistically ready to give the answers to those who are willing to have those. We are sitting onto a bench in an urban area, and we are right in front of the only peach tree, peach fruit, yes. And I look at the tree and I said, "Oh, Rafael, look over there. Look right over there. There is a tree with peaches. Do you see the peaches on the tree?" "Yes. Let's go there. Let's have a look. Let's have carefully. Let your father check the peaches. If they are okay, we'll go there, see the peaches. Take one. Smell it. Oh, father, it smells so well." "Yes, it smells very well, isn't it?" "Yes. Isn't the smell better than those you found in the supermarket?" "Yes, it smells really, really good, Dad." "Yes. So let's try one. Let's clean it, let's wash it, and let's try one." "Oh my God, Dad, they are so good. It's so good." That was wonderful. Just reminded about that experience. Yes, he was ignorant, or he was not recalling other times that we had near trees and fruits. And at that very time, he felt, he smelled, and he tasted what does it feel like to have the fruits of the earth directly from source to mouth. And it was wonderful for him, of course. Talking about the marshmallow experience, yes, Julieta, the marshmallow experience, it was really an experience. I've talked about that experience in past lives. Yes, I believe so. If not, I will talk that the conclusions around that study were somewhat put were jeopardized or revised after, because they don't see a real correlation some years after. uh, they uh, they dismissed a real correlation between the kids eating or not a marshmallow without waiting and their success in life. That was the argument, the initial argument, and then later they dismissed the argument around their ability for success, amounting to the overall life development of the child and many other issues around the study himself, including political fights in the team of the scientists, financial issues, etc., etc. The types of issues that we see, unfortunately, happening in conventional science sector these days. But for sure, you are mentioning several things regarding principles, because we do what is need to be done because it's the right thing to do, not because you are going to get a reward about it. That's the karma yoga side of it. And for sure, the matter of ignorance, we already talked about it. So yes, it makes every sense. And yes, if we have the ability and the disposition, if we really have the disposition to consider every form of purpose in every form of life around us, our own questions around our own individual or personal purpose tend to melt much more quickly, much more easily. Because let's reflect what happened when a person starts to explore, acknowledge, and reflect on the purposes that he or she finds in whatever life form it comes across. Yes, purpose mastery, significance ability mastery, symbolic interpretative language of meaning mastery. That's the secret. One of those secrets, if no other imperatives of humanity we can't find, this is one. Deliberately, in very how do I say it? In very excelling type of worldview, deliberate, sustained practice around a thing creates more of that very same thing, creates more performance ability, creates more recognition of those gains, and creates more capacity of ever doing so, installing a virtuous cycle. So, of course, in every sense of it, we can only gain in making peace of ourselves with nature, addressing Gaia as our own planet with a purpose. And if you don't need to go to other theories that already are in place, like the Gaia theory, which is a theory in science that is ever more getting proponents and defenders of it. But because we feel deep inside ourselves, we feel in our hearts that it's the right thing to do, and we know that we want to do the right thing ever more. So that's the really main issue. And of course, I don't want to finish this life without expressing my view of how, in some more conceptual terms, of how can we consider the purpose of this planet. I really believe that we need to understand its intrinsic complexity, which is of so much beauty beyond whatever and ever we humans have created on our short lifespan as creators or as co-creators on this planet. Yes, and we must embrace that paradox of the complexity in unity that we see all around, and we must strive for making our own behaviors ever more intrinsically sustainable. That's the second part of how can we participate better. And of course, we have a third paradox, in my perspective, that it's the paradox of enhancing and dancing, synchronizing at the same time. Like putting our piece of value onto it as humans, make our creative contribution, at the same time dancing with so much beauty that is for us to enhance and not to deplete, not to consume. And of course, making the path of uniting all the other levels that are that really stand in the way of humanity, ever making so. Like the technological, societal, community, organization dilemmas that we live here, the challenges that we have, in order to not make this into a survival battle, but really make it into a creative game. Because, like Mr. Agostinho da Silva said, we are meant to not to work, we are meant to create. That's our role. We are meant to create, to generate value out of creation, not out of exploitation of ourselves, others, and the planet. My dear viewers, and especially you, Julieta, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for betting on your purpose, for seeing its relevance in current times. And I wish you a very nice weekend. Next week, we'll have more purpose-driven transmissions. Until then, enjoy. Have the very best of the weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.